so much, and thanks to all the other speakers. It's really interesting to hear what you were saying. So I've spent a long time thinking about Jewish multiculturalism and what it means to me. I actually asked several friends and family members what they thought, and their responses were varied. Individuality, a shared ethics, a private approach to faith. My cousin calls himself an atheist Jew, and I would probably say I'm the same. My Jewishness being about customs and traditions rather than religious practice. However, I'm very aware that my Jewish identity is linked to my immediate family, my mum and dad, and my sister. My sister died 12 years ago, my dad 9 years ago, and my mum 2 weeks ago. What meaning does my Jewish identity hold for me now that my immediate family is dead? I have no children to pass on my traditions. Do those traditions end with me? It was really refreshing to read a short story called The Sephardi Survivor in The Man Who Sold Air in the Holy Land by Omer Friedlander, about two boys who need to find a Holocaust survivor to take to school for Holocaust Memorial Day. And the only elder they can find is a Sephardi. But what of the Mizrahi Jews, the Jews from the East? Where are we? We are here. I am here in front of you. I am a Calcutta-born Jew with Iraqi heritage. On the day I was born, there was a cow in the middle of the road. My parents were born in Calcutta. My dad moved to Jerusalem when he was 2. My mum arrived in post-war London in her early 20s. Mum's parents were born in Calcutta. Dad's were from Amara in Iraq and Penang in Malaysia, and other relatives from Aleppo in Syria. I'm tempted to have a DNA test to see whether I have any Eastern European heritage, but actually I'm not sure I want to know. I have green eyes, so did my mum, and my sister and dad blue-grey eyes. I'd often wonder what it would be like to discover that perhaps I'm not all I think I am. I call myself a Sephardi Jew because it's easier, because most people know about Sephardi Jews. But in reality, I am a Mizrahi Jew, a Jew from the East. One of my grandfathers part-owned a pickle factory. I enjoy telling this to people because I always feel the need to state that I am not part of the Raj, which is the go-to assumption that people make, or perhaps it's the assumption I make of others' assumptions about me being born in India. In my parents' generation, if an Ashkenazi married a Sephardi or Mizrahi Jew, it was seen as marrying out, marrying someone who was other to you, less than. Imagine that. I still joke about it on occasion. Conversely, when a Sephardi or Mizrahi Jew marries an Ashkenazi, mostly it's about how our food is so much more flavoursome. I apologise to all the Ashkenazis here. Buy any of Claudia Roden's Middle Eastern cookery books and a wealth of culture, history and food will overwhelm and tantalise you. Regarding the othering of Jews, several years ago, I was out with members of my family one evening when someone who I knew was sitting with us, and they commented, "Oh, you're all very exotic." My family found this insulting. Their dark skin and dark eyes and beards were seen as other, despite all of them being born in the UK. It made them and me feel othered. I've explained so many times to so many curious people that there are Jews from elsewhere than Europe, from the Middle East and North Africa. The B'nai Israel Jews in India kept their Jewish traditions while being very much part of the caste system. We're called the Wandering Jews for a reason. We are the forgotten Jews, the afterthought Jews. I was recently asked to contribute some work because somebody suddenly remembered that all the Jews who'd been invited were Ashkenazi. Quick, find a Sephardi or a Mizrahi Jew. I'm reminded of Edward Said's Orientalism and the sense of superiority the West had towards the East, the Orient, the other. This sense of other was apparent in the way Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews viewed Sephardi, Mizrahi and B'nai Israel communities. Excuse me. I've always been the wrong kind of Jew, having to squeeze my writer's voice in the predominantly Ashkenazi canon of writers, and non-Jews often don't know how to compartmentalize me. I tick all the boxes and no boxes. I belong everywhere and I belong nowhere. Living in 2023 London, Jewish multiculturalism is about living alongside the diverse traditions and practices of other Jews and accepting those differences. I cannot undo myself unless I convert it to another religion, and I have no intention of doing so. The common ground I share with other Jews, whether Orthodox or secular, is anti-Semitism. I am a Jew inhabiting a multicultural society. A Jehovah's Witness once came to the house and, seeing the mezuzah on the front door, asked who the Jew was. I said, "Oh, that's me, and my wife is a Catholic Buddhist, and we're very well served, thank you." They walked away smiling because we had some belief. Our neighbours in southeast London are a mix of young white, elder Jamaican, Pakistani, Indian, Caribbean, and probably others from a cultural and ethnic background, others I do not know. I am a minority within a minority within a minority. I am a woman, I am gay, I'm a Mizrahi Jew within a majority Ashkenazi population. No one ever knows what to do with me, where to place me. But my Jewish identity, as I've said, is not about religion, but custom and tradition. The way we say our prayers, the tunes to our songs, and our food is a mix of Indian, Syrian, Iraqi cuisine, and in the past, some Malaysian food added to the mix. Recently, at a writing workshop, the director said, I was more Indian than he was. He is brown, I am white. He was born in the UK, I wasn't. We were both brought up on Indian sweets, and I could name every single one of them. He said, Shelley, you could get an Indian passport where he could not. And apparently I'm allowed to buy property in India, which I'm not going to do. My most recent experience of Jewish multiculturalism was at my mother's funeral on Tuesday, the 17th of January. There in front of me were my aunt, born in Egypt to Greek and Egyptian parents, her daughter-in-law, born in Casablanca to Moroccan parents. When her family moved to Israel from Morocco with dark skin, dark eyes, different food and cultural practice, they were treated like second-class citizens by the Eastern European Jews who tried to stop them disembarking. Also at the funeral was a non-Jewish friend who leads workshops in synagogues for Jewish children during the festivals. She knows more about Jewish culture and tradition than many in-name only Jews. My niece-in-law is Turkish, my mother's friend from Shanghai. And then there's my goddaughter with an Ashkenazi white mother and a black Jamaican Jewish father. When she went to Israel a few years ago, she experienced racism from people who did not acknowledge her Jewish identity, only seeing the color of her skin. At one point after the funeral, when the rabbi was reciting something to me, a cousin turned to him and berated him for slipping into an Ashkenazi rhythm. Acceptance of other Jewish traditions and cultures, respecting that we have individual practices, is a way forward for the religion and culture if it is to survive. I still don't know what I think about Jewish multiculturalism or what it means to be a Jew. I only know that I'm a bit of everything: Jewish, gay, south of the river dweller, writer, runner, wife, student, teacher, friend, and so much more. And all of that feeds into my culture. When people ask me where I'm from, which they do quite often, I'm often asked if am I French, am I South American? I prefer to be asked, who do I come from? There's a poem I use in my work with the Royal Literary Fund by Dean Atter called I Come From. I come from the rivers Hooghly and Thames, the Euphrates and Tigris, north and south, east and west. Who do you come from? Thank you.